right, here we go. Check this out.
This is Whole Nother Level with Dwayne Lindo.
You know, frankly, I feel that we shouldn't even be talking about this. Simple as that.
The great L. Bushman.
They'd have to make so many adjustments, but I don't know what they have to do. They need a miracle. They need a miracle.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Craig Cousin.
How can you not put Tom Brady number one on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks? Man, this guy's a legend. Rings speak.
And Derek Wilson.
I didn't know Eric was going to let you talk.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. I've seen enough Facebook posts to know that you're not a Giants fan. Let's go. All right, take two. Here we go. Whole nother level with you each and every Saturday right here on HNL3.com and Spreaker. Gentlemen, again, I'm joined by the sports expert Dwayne Lindo, also joined by the factual Frank Mazzei. What's going on, fellas? How are you?
Pretty good, man. 2 times the charm.
I know. I take two, man. You know, I got a bunch of brand new equipment, so it was my flaw. My apologies. But anyhow, let's get right into it. I want to talk about some football stuff. Again, big shout out to everybody last week who came and showed us a lot of love at the office bar. Big shout out to Gina Pinto for letting us come and take over the place. But whole nother level. Frank, since you're with us, my brother, I got to ask you, right now, you're Jerry Jones, Dallas Cowboys, GM, owner, does everything. Do you start Dak Prescott, my brother? Do you start him based on what you've seen in preseason? Because Tony Romo, he went down already, bruh.
Look, if I'm Jerry Jones, the first thing that I'm doing right now is replacing the car that I drive. No, look, Jerry Jones and Tony Romo are joined at the hip. Trust me, Jerry Jones, as much as he loves headlines, he loves him some Tony Romo because he's given him money and he's stuck with him when a lot of teams – Tony Romo would have been gone if he played on a lot of other teams just for the fact of injuries and not being very reliable.
He's injury prone.
Yes.
We've all seen that.
Yes.
I mean, glass jaw. I mean, his shoulder. You can't keep his shoulder in place.
Look,
so, what's the point?
It's a win-win. You don't have to make the move because the move's going to happen regardless because Tony's going to get hurt. And then now you actually have the luxury if, and it's a big if, Dak Prescott can play like he has in the preseason. Preseason, regular season, look, I need to see it for real.
But at this point,
okay,
Dak Prescott is going to start the first game. Am I correct?
Listen, if you ask me, I don't want him to start the first game.
Tony Romo got a little banged up preseason game.
He's going to come back. He's going to come back.
I don't get it.
Okay, but wait a minute, Dwayne. You were the guy who was saying if you've got a veteran and a rookie, you're going to start the veteran. So now you're saying start the rookie.
There's a caveat.
If that veteran's name is Tony Romo,
or Sam Bradford?
Well, yeah, of course. But here's the problem: if you have someone that proves that he's injury prone, I don't even. Well, okay, if he's okay, maybe you start him. But when he goes down, I think that's it. I mean, I just don't get the whole starting Tony Romo thing. I mean, Dak Prescott looks great in the preseason. I would go with him.
So you're gonna roll the dice, and you're gonna say go with Dak Prescott to start. That's what you're saying.
Look. Let me explain something to you. At this point, Tony Romo has proven nothing to me. I mean, I haven't seen Tony Romo. He didn't do anything last year for me, and the way I see it, the guy's injury prone. Why put him in? Why even play?
I don't think he did anything for anybody last year.
No, he didn't, except prove the fact that Jerry Jones has surrounded and put all of his emphasis and all of his reliability on one man, and that one man is Tony Romo. Listen, Augusta Wynn hit him, and he's done. But listen, when he is healthy, that team is successful.
Well, and, going to Frank made this point numerous times last season, the fact that without Tony Romo, and you guys just alluded to it, without Tony Romo, the Dallas Cowboys are lost.
Yeah.
I mean,
they can't win a game.
His offense, and I'm taking the words right out of Frank's mouth, the Dallas Cowboys offense is wrapped around Tony Romo. If Tony Romo's not there, it's a wrap. And we've seen that we've seen it happen. last year.
So you're saying you already know what you got with him, which is what I always say when it comes to certain situations like this. You're saying right now, throw Dak Prescott out there, see what you got your money's worth. You've got a strong running back who a lot of people are saying is going to be Rookie of the Year, and Ezekiel Elliott. As long as that offensive line can stabilize and support him, you know what? Why not?
Yeah, and I could understand. I mean, you have Tony. You're paying Tony Romo all this money. The offense revolves around him. Although he's injury prone, I mean, I could understand starting him if he can actually throw a ball at this point. But
right.
I could see it. But again, I would be torn as a head coach.
Look, when Tony Romo, when he's out there and he stays healthy, it's a win-win for Dallas, because if he plays like he can, then Dallas is going to do well. But if he gets hurt, which, look, everybody knows that he is, I mean, you have a decent backup. And last year, without Romo, look, you also had Darren McFadden as your running back and the dude that was stealing the underwear or and the cologne and stuff. I'm just saying that was your running game last year. As good as the offensive line is for Dallas, and it's probably, if not the best in the NFL, it's a top 5 offensive line. Now you have Ezekiel Elliott, and maybe even more important than that, you have Alfred Morris behind him, which that's going to dictate what defenses do now, because the safeties, they have to respect that now, when they go for coverages and having Des Bryant out there. So it's going to help Dak Prescott, too, when he gets in the game, because, look, let's be honest, everybody knows that he is. But what you've seen from Dak Prescott is he's big. He's got some size. He's got wheels. He can run. He has nice touch on the ball. I mean, he's accurate. I mean, look, the future is bright either way for me.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I have to ask the question, because you know what? It's like we say, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And I think there are a lot of people right now who are off the Tony Romo bandwagon, who are very simply saying, you know what? Put this guy in. Yes, it's preseason. So he's not playing against the true first and second stringers. He's not playing against the first line of the defense. He's looking at guys who are very much in his position, just trying to get a paycheck. But if he can produce, and again, I always go back to Dallas, as much as I don't like them, have one of the strongest offensive lines in the NFL. They protect people. Somehow.
Not Tony Romo.
Thank you. Took the words right out of my mouth. Go ahead, Frank.
Look, the best thing that Dak Prescott is getting that most backup quarterbacks don't get, even in the preseason, he's doing all this with the first team, the starting guys that he's going to be doing it with when he gets into the regular season game. Like you see a lot of times, the backup quarterback, he's with the second string wide receivers and he has chemistry with them. Then he gets in the game with the first stringers and the first teamers. The chemistry is not always there right away. He has the benefit of throwing the ball to Des Bryant, handing the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott, Alfred Morris. So he's going to know those guys. So he's getting experience there. And it's not just that Romo gets hurt all the time. It's what his injuries are. I mean, he has back problems. Back problems for anybody is not good.
No, you're right.
Collarbone problems. I mean, and he's, I believe, 36 years old? I mean, you're basically done.
So you're saying just, you know what? Time to go. Time to move on. Time to, take that horse out to the shed and just let it go, whatever. But I'm just saying, I mean, I don't know.
Good way to put it.
It's time. The Tony Romo era is basically what we're saying is over.
Well, look, and here's the deal. I think this is, and I think someone mentioned this on the show previously, but this is a make or break year for Tony. If he is seriously injured this year, it's a wrap. I mean, does everyone agree or disagree?
No, I completely agree.
Frank, I'd like to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, how many times do you keep coming back when you keep getting hurt? I mean, it's like, look, as good as you may be, if you're not reliable, that doesn't do any good for me.
Right. And it's time. It is time to move on. All right, gentlemen. Well, let's keep it going. Let me ask you guys another question, and this one's a little bit personal for some of us, but I just want to get the thought and opinion of the two gentlemen sitting here with me, as we do every Saturday here on Whole Nother Level. So last night, the San Francisco 49ers had a preseason game, and during the singing of the national anthem, Colin Kaepernick decided not to stand and show his love for America. So, of course, I guess it was kind of bittersweet that he lost to Green Bay 21-10. But I want to ask you, gentlemen, because of his comments. He said that, and I'm paraphrasing here, why should I stand for a country that basically discriminates against blacks and other minorities? Why should I, salute this country because of that? So I want to talk to you, gentlemen, because first and foremost, let me just say this. As an African-American man in this country, this is 2016. And yeah, pardon my language, there's a lot of bullshit going on. And this election is not helping in any situation. But you live here. Pretty sure you were born and raised here, Colin Kaepernick. So you know what? You stand your ass up and you salute this flag. Because where there are injustices and where you think there are inequalities, let me just say this. There are also those who, if it wasn't for the American dream, they'd be in a lot worse position than they currently are. And with that, I'll defer to you, gentlemen.
Eric, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, look, obviously I'm African-American as well. I love this country. I was born here, born and raised in New York. Obviously, I've seen plenty of discrimination to go around. You could stretch it up from here to California. I mean, I don't think anyone can dispute that there is discrimination, racism. Without question, there is. But I think that the key thing is here that despite all the racism, the discrimination, all the BS you see day in and day out, the fact of the matter is that you live in a country that is, in my opinion, I mean, someone down the road may think different, but in my opinion, living in this country would probably be better than living in 90% of the countries around the world, if not more. I'm just throwing out a percentage there, but I think it's a 90,
I get what you're saying.
So to not respect the American flag, during the Star-Spangled Banner, I think that's disrespectful to me, and I'm sure to a lot of folks. But the fact is, deal with it. A lot of racism. Deal with it. Make a difference. Don't sit there and be disrespectful or stand there and be disrespectful. Make a difference. I don't know specifically what he's doing, so I shouldn't call him out on that because I don't know what he's doing to make a difference. Maybe he is, but I think the key is make a difference, but at the same time, respect your country.
Oh, boy. Look, he's fortunate to live in a country where he has the freedom to make that choice, albeit as unpopular as it is. Look, he's not going to win this from a PR standpoint per se, and he's associating the flag and the national anthem with all those things, whereas to me, I look at the flag and I think more about the people that fought for that's the symbol that I see. I don't see necessarily, all the injustices and all the things that are going wrong in America. I look at the lives that were lost so that flag can fly, and kind of I associate those two things, when I hear the national anthem and everything. People that have done this before in the past have not won. I mean, Chris Jackson, who became,
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Exactly. He did that, and he wanted that to be his stand, if you will. How long was it before he was out of the league?
Probably less than a year, I think it was.
I mean, he wasn't a scrub. I mean, he could play. He could play basketball.
Yeah, he was a Nugget for the rest of the season, I believe, and it was kaput. He actually went overseas to play. So
there are a lot of things that you can do to make a difference and to take a stand. Not standing for the national anthem, I don't know if that's the one. I'm thinking, and I don't know if this is his motive or not, if he really is sincere. He doesn't want people to like him. I don't think. What better way to get out of San Francisco than, because the 49ers are going to catch, the backlash and everything from the people and basically people all over this.
Right.
So this just adds to, what Colin Kaepernick has been doing. alienating himself from the team, getting into contests with the media, going back and forth with them. I mean, it's not a battle that he can win. I agree per se with, some of the things that he's saying. I mean, yeah, but I don't know that this is the best way to take that stand per se. I think, he may be doing a lot of these things behind the scenes, but if this is the only thing that he's doing for, to try and make America a better place, I think it's misplaced.
Okay, let me say this, and forgive me, gentlemen, because this is a very dear subject to me for a number of reasons. One in particular is the man sitting to my right, and that is the factual Frank Mazzei. This man was in the armed forces. My barbers, Eric and Dawn, who I love more than anything else in this world, were both a part of the U.S. military. I am proud to have friends who I went to high school with, elementary school with, middle school with, and they decided to serve our country. Now, I get what you're saying, Frank. Colin Kaepernick clearly wants out of San Francisco. And you know what? If that's what you want, then figure out a way to do it. But don't you dare disrespect the greatest country in America to try and prove a point. Now, this is what he said, and I'm reading directly from NFL.com. He said, and I quote, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder." And to Colin Kaepernick, I say, you know what, bruh? You absolutely right. There's a lot of ignorance in this world. You, my friend, are not a part of the solution when you decide to handle it in this manner. Because I don't see you doing anything else for the San Francisco community or for the community where you are from or for whatever. All I see is a man trying to leave a team because he doesn't want to be on it. There are many, many other different avenues you can take. Don't take this one. That is what I got to say about that. Now, if he is doing other stuff, Frank, like you said, and I don't know it, guess what? I'll be the first man to sit here and say, you know what? My bad. I made a mistake. I apologize to Colin Kaepernick. But to do something like this on such a national stage because you've been privileged enough to be a part of one of the greatest sports in the world, not only is he going to get himself booted from San Francisco, he might just pack his bags and head over the border to Canada. Because I dare any other NFL team to pick him up after what he just did. In my opinion, you just wrote a check your ass can't cash. And as far as you being out of San Francisco, you're not only going to be out of that, you're going to be out of the NFL. My opinion.
Right. And, you have other athletes that are out there, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, that are championing, just anti-racism, anti-bullying, that type of thing. So there's a right way to do it. I think Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, and there's quite a few athletes and athletes that are prominent athletes that are out there in their communities, in their respective communities, and championing anti-racism. And they're doing it the right way. This, and I agree with you, Eric, this is, in my opinion, not the right way.
No, it's not. So I know it's a very touchy subject, but you know what? We take stuff to a whole nother level, and I got to break stuff down. And when something irritates me, I got to talk about it. That's just me. You know what, gentlemen, with that, I want to get off this negative ride that we're on right now. We're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk a little more football in the NFL. I definitely want to talk about the preseason games that are going on today, and as well as let's dive a little deeper into who we think is going to make it to the postseason. You are listening to us, Whole Nother Level, right here on HNL3.com. And welcome back to Whole Nother Level right here on HNL3.com. Also want to say we're on Spreaker.com and Raw Talk Online. Don't forget to check us out. All right, gentlemen, keeping the show going. You know what? Let's kind of dive into some NFL because we got a game going on right now. The Chiefs and the Bears preseason game. I know we touched on this last week, but And I had made the comment that I feel like the second half of this regular season for the Kansas City Chiefs, I could see them going on an 8-game tear and winning all 8 of their games. Last year, they had to roll like 10, 11 games to get them to the postseason. But I want to ask you, gentlemen, more importantly, if you're Alex Smith, with everything that you've been through, if you don't make it this year, do you hang it up? Let me ask you guys that question.
That's a tough question. I mean, I think he's a fairly decent quarterback. Kansas City doesn't have a running game. A passing game, but I just feel that Kansas City should pass more. I don't know. That's a tough one there, Eric. Maybe we should defer to Factual Frank here.
So Frank, I mean, listen, this guy, he started in San Francisco, and then Kaepernick came in and kind of pushed Alex Smith off to the side. So then he goes to Kansas City. This guy has been through so many offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches, even to the point of almost head coaches. When do you say enough's enough if you're Alex Smith? Now, I know, Frank, your personal feelings towards me. I know. I'm going to ask you to be objective on this one, bro. I really am. But just talk to me. If you're Alex Smith, for argument's sake, let's say this year you don't make it to the Super Bowl. You don't win. Do you hang it up?
Look, and you're probably right there in saying that Alex Smith is probably not going to make it to the Super Bowl this year. Look, if I'm Alex Smith, every day I wake up, I'm giving Andy Reid a big hug. I ain't going nowhere because I don't think anybody else is going to pay him what Kansas City is paying him. I've said that I believe Alex Smith is a backup quarterback. I think he belongs in the league. I'm not saying he's a bum. I'm not saying that he's Brandon Weeden and that that he can't play. I mean, I'd probably take him over Ryan Fitzpatrick, even though if I had to choose between those two, it might take me a while. But
Frank would just flip a coin every week if he had those two quarterbacks.
Pretty much.
I mean, this is a guy. Yes, he's had multiple offensive coordinators, but look, I mean, he could have been out of the league. I mean, by all accounts, I mean, Jim Harbaugh kind of, I think everyone agrees, kind of resurrected, his career. But I mean, I think he'll keep playing because as long as the Chiefs stick with him, he'd be a fool not to keep taking that money. I mean, it's going to have to come from the Chiefs. They're going to have to realize that, look, Alex Smith is, we say game manager about a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, that's what he is. I mean, I don't think they throw the ball down the field because I don't think they trust Alex Smith to throw the ball down the field or that he even can. I mean, he doesn't have, a rifle of an arm. He can run, he can throw the ball, but do you want him, in a must-win game, a no-huddle offense? I mean, a hurry-up, 2-minute drill? Is Alex Smith the guy that you want under center? I mean, I don't think they can win with Alex Smith.
Okay.
Personal opinion
and that's fine.
Well, they found a way to win 14 in a row last year.
Well, it wasn't 14, but they won double-digit wins.
Right.
And they needed to get to the postseason to come in at a wild card spot.
12, I believe, or
something like that. 10, 11, somewhere between 10 and 12. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but that's what they did, and they got to the postseason. So, as much as, and Frank, I know you are hard pressed to think otherwise about this. I know you think, and you quoted the line last season. You said Tom Brady gives you touchdowns, Alex Smith gives you interceptions.
And field goals.
That's what you said, field goals. Thank you.
That's fairly accurate.
But that's what he said. But I'm like, okay, I understand that, but I have to look at the body of work. This guy's never had something solid, not something consistent to work with. And I'm just curious, when do you finally say, unless you give me some consistency? Because, Dwayne, you said it's all on Jamal Charles. You said that right now the Kansas City Chiefs, they need to rest everything they got on Jamal Charles. And as long as Jamal Charles is healthy, they will be okay.
Well, we've seen last year that the running game, and I mentioned it earlier, is their receiving core. I mean, they have one receiver, basically one all-star receiver that they go to. Alex Smith can go to. But it's all about the running game for them. So Jamal Charles, like I said last week, is an integral part of this offense.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the other opponent that they're playing. In the Chicago Bears, John Fox, can he keep that level of intensity that Adam Gase brought to Jay Cutler? Can they keep that going this year? Can Jay Cutler kind of get out of his own way and be the quarterback that we all know him to be, but he has not yet to become? I mean, that's my question. What is Chicago? Because, I mean, the Bears are, we have them at the bottom of the barrel because we just don't know what to expect with Jay Cutler. Well, no, actually, I'm sorry. We have the Detroit Lions underneath them. So they're coming in third. But if you're the Chicago Bears, you have a great – I'm sorry. I'm calling him what he is. He's a great quarterback that's just lazy. What do they need to do?
I think the answer to that question would be a lot. You just mentioned the quarterback play of the Chicago Bears where he's disappointed – especially Chicago Bears fans from year to year. I don't see Chicago at this point, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see Chicago and all the preseason predictions we've made, no one has Chicago going anywhere.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. We don't.
I think Chicago will take another step forward this year from what they did last year. But unfortunately, with the depleted talent that is on that team right now, especially more on the defensive side of the ball, that's not going to be enough. It's enough to get them over, to beat out the Detroit Lions because, let's be honest, that's not going to take a whole lot. But it's not enough for me to see them leapfrogging Minnesota or even Green Bay. But you got John Fox, year number 2. Second year for Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, because they did switch from a 4-3 to a 3-4, so that takes time to get the personnel in there, and there's only been, basically one draft, for them to do it. So it is going to be a work in progress, but I think looking at the Chicago Bears last year, the difference between them and the year before under Mark Trestman was that they at least actually looked like a real football team last year. Not a great one, but you could see some, resemblances to an actual NFL football team. Whereas the year before, with Trestman, the year he got fired, they just looked unorganized, undisciplined. I mean, and there was talent there. There was talent. Mark Trestman had more talent to work with than what John Fox did, and he couldn't do it. So John Fox is taking, a little less talent, but he's making them again into more of an NFL football team. Jay Cutler, I mean, my goodness, I think everyone agrees, the talent is there. The arm is there. I mean, he's smart. I mean, he went to Vanderbilt. You can't be stupid and get into Vanderbilt. I mean,
this is very true.
He's got intelligence. And, I mean, look, Alshon Jeffrey, Kevin White, who didn't play last year, was their number 1 draft pick, the wide receiver out of West Virginia. So, he has some offensive weapons. Yes, Martellus Bennett is not there, but the discovery, Langford had a good year. I mean, their offensive line is decent. Offensively, Chicago is a fairly decent football team. But I think, just the defensive side of the ball is going to be too much for them.
Okay. All right. Speaking of teams, here's something that I wanted to talk about at the top of the show, but the whole Dak Prescott thing I figured I'd get Dallas out the way early, so I don't have to keep talking about him. Joey Bosa, number 3 draft pick for as the great L. Bushman would call them, the nap time San Diego Chargers. This dude doesn't have a contract signed. And now there's talk that he might not even play this season because they can't come to an agreement.
San Diego put out their best offer. Who knows what that offer is? I'm not sure what's going on between Bosa's agent and the team. But this is, in my opinion, ridiculous. Who knows? I don't get it.
I mean, listen. Here it is. The San Diego Chargers gave the following statement regarding the contract negotiations with Joey Bosa. The offer included an initial signing bonus payment that is larger than any player in the league has received over the last 2 drafts, more money in this calendar year than every player in this year's draft except my boy Carson Wentz. Thank you very much. The largest payment and the highest percentage of signing bonus received in the first calendar year of any Chargers first-round selection since the inception of the CBA back in 2011. And his people still said no.
Yep.
His ability to contribute for an entire rookie season has now been jeopardized by the value time he has missed with his coaches and his teammates.
Yep. He won't be in shape.
No. And as a result, they're going to try and restructure their offer since Joey Bosa will be unable to contribute for the full 16-game season without the adequate time on the practice field, in the classroom, and in preseason games. That was just, 3 days ago from the San Diego Chargers. Who is Joey Bosa's agent, and what kind of money you trying to make for this brother? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, like I said off the top, I don't understand. I mean, obviously, we're looking from the outside, and I always seem to say that, but it's the truth. We don't know the tangibles of the talks, what was talked about. But looking from the outside in, you're thinking, I don't understand why you can't come to an agreement. The whole point of this, you're a first-round draft pick. The whole point is playing ball.
Top 5.
Right. I understand. Obviously, you want to get the money that you think you deserve. He hasn't played one down of an NFL game at this point. But you have to kind of try to figure out, as an agent and as a player and as a team, try to figure out collectively how much you think you're owed or should be paid. But from where I'm looking, I think the San Diego Chargers are bending their back to try to accommodate this first-round draft pick. But I don't know why nothing's being done. An agreement can't come to fruition here.
Everybody's laughing at the San Diego Chargers. All the NFL teams are laughing. Other GMs are laughing. There's 3 GMs that wouldn't go on the record that basically said that they were laughing at the San Diego Chargers and basically called them incompetent. Everything that Joey Bosa and his agent are asking for, every third-round draft pick since 2012 under the new collective bargaining agreement has gotten. The Chargers are offering 85% signing bonus. Everyone has gotten 100% of their signing bonus.
85%? 85% of a signing bonus?
Everyone else has gotten 100. The new collective bargaining agreement was done to avoid holdouts, to avoid negotiations. So the first-round pick doesn't get, $58, $60 million money, like Bradford and Stafford did, and then, can't really play that good. It's slotted now that if you're the number 1 draft pick, you make X amount of dollars. Can't hold out because this is what it is. This is the new collective bargaining agreement, which was designed to avoid holdouts, because now you can have, used to be guys would wait to sign. If I'm the number 4 pick, I'm not signing until the 3 pick signs so I can see how much he gets.
Right.
Well, now that's all out of the way. You got guys, 9, 10, 17, 25. They're all signing because you're slotted. This is your slot. This is what you get. So, it kind of was supposed to make this not happen. What the Chargers are doing is saying, well, yeah, we know that, but that's not how we do business with our – and they haven't drafted in the top 5 since the new collective bargaining agreement, which I don't know how, as god-awful and incompetent and ridiculous of a franchise as they are, they should be the number 1 draft pick or the number 1 team picking every year, it would seem like, but, thank Phillip Rivers for that. So they're basically – it's offset language and the signing bonus. Every player drafted under the new collective bargaining agreement has gotten one or the other. The Chargers are saying, yeah, we don't like that. And they're the ones that are going, to me, off script and off cue. Now, 85% of $17 million, I believe, that's a whole lot of money.
That's a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And
that's a whole lot of money.
At what point, is it about principle? Is it about this? Is it about that? If he goes back into the draft next year, which he can, he's probably not going to be a top 5 pick. I mean, because, look, you go away for a year, they're scouting guys, that defensive end from Texas A&M. I mean, it's going to be probably the number 1 pick. There's guys that are going to jump out. I mean, yeah, you'll probably still be a first-round pick, but you ain't getting that kind of money.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying to me that Joey Bosa, let's just say for argument's sake, and this may actually come to fruition, he doesn't sign with the San Diego Chargers.
Yes.
So he doesn't play this whole entire year, which gives him a year to, get healthier, whatever. But he's another year older and still hasn't played in the NFL.
Yep.
You're saying to me he's still going to go in the first round in the 2017 draft?
I think he would probably be a first-round pick.
Really? Huh.
Bottom. I mean, he's not going to be like top five.
No, I got that. But you're still saying out of the top 32 picks, you see Joey Bosa going, let's just say between 27 and 32.
I do, because those teams that pick in that slot are teams that are playoff teams that are, or even Super teams that have gone to the Super Bowl, towards the end of the first round pick. Usually, granted, there's talent everywhere in every round. You're not getting that caliber player of Joey Bosa in that pick area. So I could see a team that, like in New England, somebody like the Seahawks, somebody like the Cardinals that are probably going to be picking in that window because, they're probably all going to be in the playoffs or, making runs towards the Super Bowl. I could see one of them taking the draft pick and using it on a caliber player of Joey Bosa. They basically get a top 5 talent, if you will, at the bottom of the first round of the draft.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's plausible.
I would see him going second round. I would not see him going first round because of what has happened with this situation. I'm like, look, you have the opportunity to do what you love to do and make a ton of money doing it. But whether it be the whole, well, I don't want to play in San Diego, your last name ain't Manning, bruh. You can't flip-flop like what Eli and Phillip Rivers did. So you need to take what you get and then work your rookie contract and then, play to your level and then somehow find your way to weave in and out, or maybe someone will pick you up because they realize that you're better suited. But if you don't play for a year, no one's got game tape on you.
Yep.
You don't know the system. You don't know how the NFL works. How can you still be picked up in the first round? I get what you're saying, but isn't this about always getting better? Isn't this about evolution? Isn't this about always maturing? People want to see what you did last week, not last year. And if Joey Bosa sits out for a year, what do you have to go on? Oh, he's been working out every year. He's been cut. He's trying to stay in shape. Yeah, but you ain't been on the field taking them hits. We don't know what your mental capacity is like. We don't know what your physical toughness is like. Get hit by a 300-pound defensive end. Get hit by a wide receiver or just, what? He's a defensive end, right?
Bosa, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So show me game tape of you tackling a quarterback. I don't care if it's RG3 or if it's Blaine Gabbert or if it's Sam Bradford or if it's Eli Manning or if it's Tony Romo. Show me that game tape. Because as a coach, as a GM, as an owner, that's what I want to know. I want to know, I hate to use Janet Jackson, but what have you done for me lately? So you're telling me he's going to sit out for a year, but then still possibly get picked up in the first round. He going to be a third stringer.
Well, I mean, you got to understand, too, from Frank's perspective, the talent is there. Bosa has the talent now. Again, I mentioned that he hasn't played a down of professional football, but the point is the talent's there. Chances are a year from now, the talent is going to be there. It's a big question mark. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the talent, you would think, after a year is still going to be there, even if he still didn't play a down of football. Not saying that he's going to be better than some of the draft picks for the top draft picks for next year defensively, but you have talent. So
okay.
And it could very well go the second round as well. I mean, it's just at the bottom of the first,
right.
Top of the second.
Right.
It's all relative.
Okay.
I mean, he could be looking. His dad played in the NFL, I think, for a year or two, got injured, didn't play again. And I think another family member of Bosa's played for like a year or two in the NFL also.
There's pedigree.
And got injured. So, it's like, and their careers were done. So, he may be like, look, I want all my money. It's one of those things at some point, look, if you really want to play, you may just have to swallow it and tell your agent, who technically works for you, get it done. I know that we're taking what, everybody else has gotten. We're not getting that. The Chargers are basically trying to rewrite the script, so to speak.
Right.
But at some point, it's like, I want to play football. I'm losing out on – you're going to lose money.
Yes.
I mean, even if he gets, second round and gets a big signing bonus, this is still money that he's losing this year, and he's losing a year of getting out of there. I mean, look, get in, play your years in San Diego, and tell your agent, get me out of here as soon as my contract is done, out, or if you can get me traded before then, I'm gone.
And you would think that would be the smart way to do things. But I just don't understand, getting back to the beginning, I just don't understand this whole not coming to agreement, whether it's bad on the San Diego, it looks bad on the San Diego Chargers part, or Bosa or his agent. Either way, it just collectively it looks bad.
Yeah,
You're right. All right, gentlemen, with that, we'll take a real quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the rest of these games going on. And then, as I said in my, pre-show video that I made this morning, I need to give a shout-out and talk to somebody. I'll tell you who he is when we come back. You're listening to us. Whole Nother Level. Be right back. And welcome back to Whole Nother Level on HNL3, along with Spreaker.com and Raw Talk Online. All right, gentlemen, you know what? Let's run down some of the rest of these preseason games. I want to get your thought and opinion on them really quick. And then, as I said, there's a certain gentleman who has kind of rubbed me the wrong way this week, and I need to let him know exactly how I feel. So
this ought to be good.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be real good. It's going to be true E-Dub at his best. So let's start with tonight's games. We got the Lions at the Ravens. Stafford versus Flacco, probably going to play maybe the first full quarter. Gentlemen, let me ask you, who do you think is going to have a better season, Detroit or Baltimore?
I would have to go with Baltimore. I mean, Lions, we kind of discussed the Lions at our last show over at The Office, and we kind of talked about not a whole heck of a lot going there. Obviously, their top receiver gone. Not a lot of folks to throw to for Stafford. You have and the name Golden Tate.
Golden Tate?
Yes, that's the name I was thinking of. Golden Tate is your only receiver that is worth a damn, basically. Ravens, a lot of injury last year.
Yep.
A lot of those guys are coming back. Steve Smith Sr., obviously older. But, I mean, I think the Ravens have a better – Ravens are not going to make the playoffs, I don't think, but I think the Ravens have a better season than the Detroit Lions do.
All right. Frank, what about you?
I expect about the same out of each of them, 7
Okay.
and 9. I like they signed Marvin Jones from Cincinnati, who was their number 2 to A.J. Green. So you got him with Golden Tate, even though Anquan Bolden is older. But they're not going anywhere. I mean, both those teams' defenses are pretty much god-awful.
Depleted.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Frank on this one. I'm saying if Baltimore, in my opinion, should go 8-8, maybe 9-7, but the Lions, if they get any more than 6 wins, to me, I'll say you better count that as a successful year.
Oh, yeah. I have them at 6 wins. I mean, right off the bat.
And then we've got, I believe it's called the Snoopy game between the Giants and the Jets. I believe they do this every year. I believe it is the Snoopy Trophy. One team's going to receive it. So, Mr. Lindo, your New York Football Giants versus the team you play in the same Meadowlands as you do, the Jets, Jets. We touched on them again last week. We touched on all these teams last week. But what you've seen in the preseason so far, sir, how confident are you about your Giants? Has your stock in them risen a little bit?
To be honest with you, not so much.
Okay.
I see the Jets having a better season than the Giants. Giants, in my opinion, Eli, I think, will be Eli. He'll step up in crucial games. Obviously, ODB will step up in crucial games. These are 2 veterans that will play and get the job done. I just don't think collectively the Giants as a team, especially their defense shoddy last year. I think, even with, the draft picks that we have, Eli Apple, who I think is injured, but I think he should be able to play the first game. They've done some things with their secondary, the Giants have. But I think the Jets have a better season than they do.
Okay. All right. Frank, I know how you feel about Mr. Fitzpatrick, so I'm going to ask you to try and be objective here when I ask this question. Looking at both defenses,
Yes.
who do you think is going to have a better season defensively?
Oh, that's a no-brainer.
Just Jets.
Okay.
Jets.
That's a no-brainer.
Well, I'm asking because
Right.
Steve Spagnuolo has made a few acquisitions to kind of beef up that defense. Darrelle Revis, listen, he's another year older. So you have to take everything into consideration. That's why I'm asking.
Here's the thing about bringing Steve Spagnuolo back as the defensive coordinator. The Giants' defense last year was 3rd worst in the NFL. History. Not the 3rd worst of the 32 teams, for the season. It was the third worst defense in NFL history. I mean, look, you're talking about a whole lot of years of the Saints and, just some bad garbage. I mean, that's not a list that you want to be on. I mean, yeah, they brought in some acquisitions, but, yeah, the Giants' defense, I don't expect much. The Giants will have to outscore teams again this year, kind of like they were doing last year.
All right. Titans and Raiders. What do you gentlemen think? Better quarterback. Does Mariota avoid the sophomore slump? And what about Derek Carr now that he has a cast of characters around him to make this team in the AFC West formidable? What do you gentlemen see with this?
Well, last week when we were at the office, I think everyone on the panel was loving them some Raiders from what I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Derek Carr. I mean, if you're going to compare Derek Carr to Mr. Mariota, sophomore slump, I see him getting a lot better.
Okay.
I see the team getting a lot better. Obviously, they've acquired 2 heavy hitter running backs. They just drafted running back out of Alabama, I believe.
Yes.
Also, the running back from Dallas, and his name slips me.
DeMarco Murray.
Thank you, DeMarco Murray. So I think, with the running game helping Mariota out as a kind of a backup, Mariota should be able to, pass the ball and be able to at least be somewhat accurate. I don't think he'll fall prey to the sophomore slump.
Okay.
But I think Derek Carr and the Oakland Raiders do have a better team.
All right. Frank?
I agree. Look, if you're a fan of both these teams, the future is bright from a standpoint of having young talent. The reason I would side with Oakland is because I think this is a year that they take a step forward. And look, Tennessee Titans, sadly, their coach is Mike Mularkey. I mean, his third head coaching job, never won. I think he's 18-39 is his record as a head coach. I mean, whoever takes over the Titans after he gets fired, is going to have a good young nucleus to work with. It just ain't happening this year.
All right. We've also got the L.A. Rams, which I still, for the life of me, don't understand how you're starting Case Keenum over the number 1 draft pick, Jared Goff. But with that being said,
Veteran.
Whatever. Still don't agree with it. You're the number 1 draft pick. You need to be thrown out there. Versus Mark Sanchez and that Denver defense. I mean, I have picked the Raiders to win this division only by 1 game over the Denver Broncos. But Denver's defense, it's going to be stout. And I want to see what this new look Rams is. And as far as I'm concerned, until you start Jared Goff, you're just going to be the same old Rams.
And just as clarification, from what I remember, you were the only guy on the panel that picked the Raiders.
No.
On our panel.
No, I was
else?
not. I believe the one and only Mr. Craig Cousin
Gotcha.
also
Okay.
had the Oakland Raiders winning this division.
Because I know I had Denver.
No,
obviously.
you had Denver.
And
The great
Mr.
El Bushman had it.
Right. It was split down the middle.
Yes, it was
Okay.
2-2. But I have them now. I would not go so far like Craig to say that Jacksonville was going to win the AFC
Right. Yeah.
South.
Right.
Now that was his bold prediction. I said Indy was going to retain. Well, Indy's going to win the title, but I'm not going to sleep on Houston either. So I don't know. But Frank, let me ask you. I didn't get to ask you this last week. Is this the year that Mark Sanchez gets a ring?
Well, I will say this is his best chance that he's ever had to get a ring.
Okay.
This is the best team and the best talent that he has ever been surrounded with since he's been in the NFL. And he had some pretty decent defenses when he was with the Jets. So if not this year and with this team and with this group and a coach that used to be a quarterback and understands, the position and everything that goes with it, this is his chance to succeed and to actually make him some money maybe, to be a starting quarterback somewhere else, down the road. Because, I'm assuming that the future of Denver is obviously Paxton Lynch. They got a first-round pick in him. So if Sanchez does get the chance, the opportunity to be the starter, this is his best chance to make the most of it.
And you know what? What you just said, everyone knows that. The coaches know it. The players know it. And guess what? The person you just mentioned, he knows it. So the fact of the matter is they all know that this is their chance to repeat. You have the best defense in the league. Mark Sanchez obviously knows that this is his only chance and his last chance to actually – they'll make it to the playoffs, but his last chance to win a ring. And again, we touched on it the beginning of the show at the office last week. We've mentioned other quarterbacks – the same caliber of Mark Sanchez. Maybe not. They never had epic butt fumbles, but the fact is they were mediocre quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls, like Trent Dilfer, Mark Rippon, and we went down the list last week.
We did. You're absolutely right. All right, gentlemen. As always, it is great to be with you. However, I need you to kind of sit back for a minute. I have something that I need to truly get off my chest. So you might want to take your headphones off for this one because I might get a little loud. As we all know, I am an avid fan of the show First Take, to the point where the three of us actually had the opportunity to see a show live. Frank got to meet Skip Bayless, have his picture taken with him. I met some other people as well. Dwayne met some other people. But First Take has changed. And for a month now, a little over a month per se, Skip's no longer there. And there's a gentleman who has come in to kind of fill that slot. His name is Max Kellerman. Now, normally, Max Kellerman says some things that I usually may or may not agree with, but I can at least see his point. And I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying. I will agree to disagree, but I at least understand
His perspective.
Thank you. His perspective. Not this time, bruh. Sorry, I can't do it. So, I don't believe it was either Tuesday or Wednesday this week. Max Kellerman was talking about my future quarterback, Carson Wentz, a man who I feel needs to start week 1 in the NFL. Now, he has never played a down in the regular season in the NFL. When he came out week 1 in preseason, he had a minor injury, but he's looking to be okay. Max Kellerman had to open up his mouth and formulate his lips to say that the Philadelphia Eagles made a mistake when they gave away basically everything to get this guy. So now, Max Kellerman, you got me to deal with. And I know I'm nobody special, I'm nobody important, but damn it, I'm an Eagles fan, and if you don't hear anything else from anybody, you're going to hear something from me. What I came to realize is something very interesting. Do you realize the 3 people on First Take right now are all New York Giants fans? Molly Karam, Stephen A. Smith, and Max Kellerman.
Yep.
So I think to myself, okay, maybe this is a division thing. Maybe Max is scared that he don't want Carson Wentz to come out there because he don't want Carson Wentz to show up his New York Football Giants. But then I remembered the New York Football Giants ain't been relevant in the past 5 years. And I'm going to go so far as to let you know that the only record right now, besides the 2 Super Bowl rings that the New York Giants have over the Philadelphia Eagles, is the fact that the overall standing between the Giants and the Eagles is 85, 81, and 2. That's it. Since the year 2000 to present day today, between the Giants and the Eagles, and there have been 35, 36 games, the Eagles are up 22-13 over the New York Football Giants. All right? Then I went so far as to start doing my homework and say, well, let me think about this for a minute. Let's look at defenses, or let's just look at overall as a team. Defense rankings over the last 5 years for the New York Giants. You ready? 27th, 31st, 8th, 29th, and 32nd. Philadelphia Eagles. Defense rankings over the last 5 years. 8th, 15th, 29th, 28th, and 30th. So with the exception of 1 year, Eagles defense, no matter how god-awful they may have been, still better than the Giants. Then I also looked at over the last 3 years. You realize the record over the last 3 years between the Eagles and the Giants is 5-1? 5-1. You know what that means? Giants can't beat the Eagles. So this is what I got to say to Max Kellerman. Before you want to run your mouth and talk about my Philadelphia Eagles and how we made a mistake drafting the number 2 guy and gave away all this other stuff because you feel gave away the farm, until your team becomes relevant, bruh, keep my team's name out your mouth. because you ain't won nothing. We ain't won nothing. Now, if you would have more than the 2 championships that you took from the Patriots, and sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, then guess what? We wouldn't be having this conversation. But I'll be damned if I'm going to let some Skip Bayless wannabe, yeah, I said it, sit up there and think he's just going to subjectively and not objectively speak about my Philadelphia Eagles. I got a problem with that. So to Max Kellerman, I say this to you, and bro, I'm not a hard man to get a hold of. I want you to remember one thing. Every time you talk about the Philadelphia Eagles in a subjective manner, you are going to hear my voice. Thank you.
You know what? I never thought I would ever say this. As much as I love my fellow Giants fans, I mean, if you're a Giants fan, you're a friend of mine. But I never thought in a million years that I would say this, but I'm going to say it live on air right now. I really miss Skip Bayless, to be honest with you. I mean, I think a lot of people – Skip Bayless had a lot of haters. And I'm not going to say that I was a Skip Bayless hater. I disagreed with him a lot, but I liked the dynamic. There was chemistry between Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. I love the chemistry, and I think that's what I liked. There's times where I disagreed and agreed with both gentlemen, but I just miss that chemistry. And again, it's crazy that I'm saying that I do miss Skip Bayless, and I think I don't necessarily miss Skip Bayless. I miss the chemistry between both gentlemen.
I think if a couple of the guys that are going to play college football this year were in last year's draft, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz wouldn't be where they are. They wouldn't. They'd be. I mean, they'd be way down there. But that being said, choosing between the two, I would have taken Carson Wentz over Jared Goff with the number 1 pick, even though it was North Dakota State, even though competition was inferior, and even though nobody knew who Carson Wentz was except, the teams that really scouted extensively. The best thing I like about Carson Wentz was the size, the running ability that he has. He played on a team that was North Dakota State, albeit Division II, is a powerhouse. They win championships basically every year, and he ran a pro-style offense where he had to make NFL reads of the defense and what they were doing. So at least from a processing standpoint, he has that already going for him, whereas a lot of quarterbacks coming out of college offenses, they don't have to make those kind of reads because the offense and those spread offenses that they run take that ability away, or take it out of the quarterback's hands, so to speak. If the defensive end does this, then I do that, of an offense. So I would have taken him basically for that reason.
All I'm saying is I will sit here every week with you gentlemen or the great L. Bushman or the one and only Craig Cousin, and I will always be objective when it comes to pretty much every team in the NFL, except for 2. The Philadelphia Eagles, because they are my team, and the Dallas Cowboys, because they are my arch rival. Dwayne, you're a New York Giants fan. And you know what? I battle with you. I battle with you more in college than I do on professionals. But you know what? I always got mad respect for you. And Frank, you are one of probably a handful of Cowboys fans that I love like a brother from another mother. That's how I introduce you, because you are who you are. So I will always respect you gentlemen, even though we all are in the same division. But I'm telling you right now, Max Kellerman, bruh, if you cannot be objective when it comes to Philadelphia, keep my team's name out your mouth. I'm just saying. With that, we're going to ride out of here today. This has been an awesome show. Thank you, gentlemen. We will be back next week. Also want to let y'all know, live September 11th, 11 a.m., Old School Bar, 1991 Main Street, Sarasota, Florida. We will be doing our NFL kickoff show, part 2, getting you ready for week 1 in the NFL with our pregame show. So for the one and only Craig Cousin and the great L. Bushman, who are out this week celebrating because First and foremost, the Bucs won last night. Granted, it was all be against the Cleveland Browns, but they still won.
And it's still preseason.
And it's the preseason. And the fact that Craig got to see Tom Brady on the field last night, because he won't be seeing him for the first 4 weeks. For the two of them, the factual Frank Mazzei and the sport expert that he is, Dwayne Lindo, this is your man E-Dub, a.k.a. Eric Wilson. And until next week, we have taken you to a whole nother level. We'll see you next time.